But let's take you to this news on the go. The Agricultural Department, in collaboration with a number of other bodies, is hosting a high-level National Foot and Mouth Disease Indaba. Speaking there is Agricultural Minister John Steenhuisen. Let's listen in.
This is even more important given the issues that we currently face with the export systems, particularly as it relates to the United States of America. Another crucial area where the system has not worked during the recent outbreak was vaccine availability. The National FMD Vaccine Bank was depleted, the production cycle misaligned with outbreak realities, and most notably, honest to put, biological products currently lacks the infrastructure to produce FMD vaccines at the scale and speed required to respond to outbreaks. As a result, we were compelled to import vaccines from Botswana to mount a response. Now, this situation can only be viewed as a stopgap measure, but cannot be viewed as sustainable for a country with South Africa's livestock footprint and the export ambitions that we have for the red meat industry in South Africa. Government is taking this seriously, and we are stabilizing OBP, but that is going to take some time. In the interim, we are securing imports and working to establish forward-looking supply contracts that will ensure minimum stock levels of FMD vaccine and other priority vaccines before the next outbreak, not after it. But the reason why everybody is in this room today is because the message is very clear. The state cannot do it all on its own. That's why partnerships for growth are one of the key pillars of the Agriculture Department. So today I want to send a clear message to the industry. If you want predictability, then you're going to have to invest and partner with government. And we're calling on the livestock industry, especially the red meat, dairy and game sectors, to begin by partnering with us on vaccine procurement. This doesn't mean you have to put in place extensive measures to manage cold chains or manage the vaccines, but it does mean that, like in other agro industries, we establish a structured partnership that ensures that we are not caught unprepared again. The time has come to build a nationally managed but jointly funded vaccine bank, not only for foot and mouth disease, but for lumpy skin disease, brucellosis, Rift Valley fever, and all other controlled diseases that affect trade and production. This model has been tested and has worked well in other spheres of government. It is in the areas of public-private partnership that we've been able to overcome issues such as the electricity crisis in South Africa. And so it will require a public-private partnership to be able to get on top of foot and mouth disease. And lastly, we must confront the lack of infrastructure within our protection zones. As long as animals are forced to be moved illegally because of the absence of local abattoirs or feedlots, we will never be able to enforce movement control effectively. It is impossible for provincial and local government to roadblock every single route in or out of an area. And sadly, as we've seen in cases over the course of the last few months, people find a way to move animals out of disease management areas when the sale of that animal is the difference between whether that family can eat that week, or school fees could be paid that week, or income could be brought into a household that week. And so we need to make sure that we move towards ensuring that we enforce movement control effectively. Because this isn't just a veterinary issue, it is also a spatial and planning issue. It's a rural development issue. And that's why we'll be earmarking funds in this fiscal year to support the establishment of feedlots and abattoirs within the protection zones, particularly in Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, and in Mpumalanga. These facilities must and will provide alternatives to the illicit trade or illicit movement of animals. They will create rural jobs and will help us then to enforce measures we need to ensure we maintain our FMD-free zones. To effectively reduce the spread of animal diseases, while also responding to the growing challenge of climate change, we must make a deliberate and sustained investment in scientific research and development. Government funding alone will not be sufficient. We're therefore calling on the industry to partner with us in the efforts to expand the scientific frontiers. In the coming weeks, I'll be meeting with the National Agricultural Marketing Council to determine how portions of statutory levies can be earmarked specifically for research and development, with a focus on animal health and climate resilience. The Agricultural Research Council, who are very kindly hosting us today, are South Africa's sole statutory research institution in this field, and they are undergoing a remarkable turnaround. For the first time in over a decade, the ARC has recorded a surplus, thanks to deliberate efforts by the department under the leadership of DG Ramasodi and his team to reinvest in its core scientific capacity, but much more is needed. We must elevate the ARC to the same level as its international counterparts by working in partnership with the University of Pretoria's Biosecurity Hub and by channeling industry levies into ARC-led research. I believe that doing this, we can build a coordinated, world-class research ecosystem that will help us to meet the biosecurity and climate challenges of our times. Colleagues, I want to also be clear. This Indaba is not about apportioning blame. It's not about finger-pointing or trying to get one over another sector or another part of our ecosystem. It's about putting our heads together to fix what is wrong and building a system that will serve all of us in negating and withstanding the next outbreak and the one after that. We must break the cycle of reactive containment and move towards a far more proactive, coordinated disease management. To do so will require far more strengthened provincial implementation, clearer national coordination, an empowered veterinary corps, and a private sector that sees biosecurity not as a burden, but as a precondition for growth. To ensure that these outcomes of this Indaba are not just aspirational, but actionable, I will be appointing a dedicated team after this gathering to consolidate the proposals that all of you will be making, as well as the insights that you'll be sharing today. And I want to re-emphasize, these 2 days are not about government telling you what to do. It's about us listening and understanding how you feel things can be improved and what you believe needs to be done to get us to a situation where biosecurity genuinely is everybody's responsibility. That task team will then be finalized with taking the information from these 2 days and putting them into a time-bound operational plan, one that reflects both the urgency of the challenge that we're facing, but also that reflects the collective wisdom contained in this room. This plan will be presented to me with a defined time frame and will serve then as the blueprint of all of our implementation going forward. So let us use today to be frank and honest with each other about what has not worked. Let us look at things that have worked. Let us bring to the fore ideas that we can scale, and let us commit not only in theory, but also in budget and action plans to building a livestock economy that is competitive, credible, and secure. Having just returned from China on Saturday this week, there is a world out there who are hungry for our agricultural products. They're literally desperate for them. And we need to make sure that we remove every single burden or obstacle that stands in the way. Biosecurity is a top concern of our potential trading partners around the world. However, I believe that both in a plant health as well as an animal health perspective, we can move to a situation where our products, our agricultural products in this country, become synonymous with the highest levels of biosecurity. What this means is we'll be able to demand not only new markets, but demand greater premiums for the agricultural products that we produce. And having traveled across large parts of South Africa, including in our rural areas, the potential for growth in the livestock sector in South Africa knows no bounds. If we can unshackle ourselves from these things that are holding us back, the sky is the limit for what we'll be able to achieve from an economic growth perspective, a food security perspective, but also from a jobs perspective in South Africa. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for the seriousness that you've shown, and I think the capacity of this room shows the commitment that people have to addressing this issue that is standing before us. I want to thank you for your expertise, and many of you have invested long hours into understanding foot and mouth disease, and we look forward to your inputs today. But most importantly, I want to say thank you for your partnership. Thank you for agreeing to work with government in a partnership that will ensure that all of us are able to reach a situation where our sector can grow and flourish. And so, without further ado, let us get to work. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Minister
Agricultural
Steenhuisen.
Minister, who is
That I uttered my first words. I was not very good in terms of translation.
all right. So you've just heard from the Agricultural Minister in John Steenhuisen speaking at the Foot and Mouth Disease Indaba, which is going to be held over the next 2 days in Pretoria.